Approval of the minutes. When committee members have had a chance to review, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 1 under old business is authorization for the mayor to execute a special municipal funding agreement with Temporary Emergency Services. LaPerry Howell is here. You are not Wayne Bowman, so welcome, LaPerry.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, this item was tabled, so I'm taking any questions that you all may have.
I tabled it. I'm ready to untable it.
That's right.
Mr. Wilson, I did get a chance to talk with Karen last week. I got a good chance to talk with you, and I'm very happy with how we're proceeding. I'm perfectly willing to vote to accept this or authorize the approval.
Thank you so much, Mr. Butler.
Motion.
Second?
LaPerry, before we vote, the plan is for the funding that would be for 100,000, right?
Correct.
Just like last year?
Yes, just like last
Because
year.
I know we amended it, right,
Yeah,
later?
we amended because it was 12 participants on the waiting list,
Right.
and we had an additional funding of 24,000.
That's fine. Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 1 is approved. Item number 2 is approval of a professional services agreement with Duke's Root Control for inflow and infiltration study. Brian, we're on the edge of our seat on this one. Total is $89,588.17. Welcome.
This is pretty cool. Good afternoon. What this is a contract for that study. What we'll do is we'll put up these called micro detection monitors on our manholes upstream of lift station 10. And they'll tell us levels in those manholes, and we'll be able to tell us where this inflow and infiltration is coming from, and so we can target our rehab, our improvements based on that study.
Brian, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Brian, will you refresh our memory for those who may not know, where's lift station 10?
Yeah, lift station 10's off Kings Mill Road. That's a couple miles down, probably 2 or 3. It's adjacent to Cottonelle Creek. We did just get through with a significant project there where we installed an equalization tank.
Right.
Meaning, and we upgraded the lift station.
Right.
And so that project is now online, substantially complete. And basically, we've mitigated potential overflows at that site with the exception of some, significant events. So that's an exciting project. We need to do this in order to maintain that level of inflow and infiltration. It could get worse. And so that's what right now we're stopped. We've got some time to study this and make improvements upstream.
That's good. Important stuff. Questions, committee members? Others?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 2 is approved. Item number 3 is approval of a professional services agreement with United Systems and Software for Phase 2 of the AMI water meter conversion. The total is $2,188,854.09. Brian?
Yes, sir. So I've got, if you allow me, I've got some notes and some commentary. I want to talk through some recap on this before I kind of get into the nitty-gritty of the contracts. But so this is something we're really excited to roll out, right? This is phase 2 of the AMI. We've been working diligently on this. This is something that's, I know you guys know, this is an investment that has a lot of benefits, and it's definitely going to improve customer service and our overall utility performance. What we're doing here is, before we've rolled out of phase 1, which was a conversion of 5,600 conventional meters to AMI technology. That was through our same vendor, USS, through a professional services agreement. This phase 2, what we're here for today, is 19,000 meters we're looking to convert. And then near the end of the year, the remainder of the conversions will be 30,500 meters. Like I said, when we get funding for that, it'll be near the end of the year.
What did you say the last one was?
30,500 meters. So right now we're operating what's called like a hybrid system. The way we're reading meters, we've got the trucks that run through, and the meter endpoints communicate with the radio equipment on the truck, and that's one way we're reading meters. More predominantly, we're reading them manually. So that's where you got to get out and look, right? You got to write it down or put it in your iPad or whatever. And so there's that manual error potential there. The AMI takes the endpoint. That's the install of the equipment to the radio equipment to send the meter read data to an antenna and then to our software on our desktops. We've already installed the infrastructure, the radio infrastructure for the system-wide coverage for these antennas. That was in phase 1. So phase 2 is, like I said, the conversion to 19,000 meters. What that does is several things, but I'll start with, right now we get one reading per month, right? One data point per month of usage. And this will give us a reading every hour, so that's multiple continuous data points of usage that we have to work from. So what that does is it basically converts our system from we can have a proactive approach instead of a reactive approach, meaning we'll be able to see, hey, we've got a trend on the usage for customers, so we can see, hey, this is spiking here. So we can alert that customer ahead of them knowing it, whereas before that leak might have been happening for a while. I think I learned of a funny story where several of these meters are already out. The mayor's got one, and I think we busted somebody stealing some water from the mayor. He had a high water bill. He brought it to Kimberly, and I think they diagnosed it and figured out the contractor somebody hooked up.
Well, the long story short is I got a very high water and sewer bill. And so I went to yell at Kimberly about it, and she said, now hold on a second, let's check it out. And so they can take that hour by hour metering, and what happened is a lawn care person who was taking care of a yard beside me was using my water to fill up their tank.
Oh, wow.
But it was an honest mistake, everything's worked out fine, but the moral of the story is that with the data, you knew the time it happened, you could then go back and pinpoint why it happened. It's extraordinary what they're doing and the leadership that the department is providing, so true story. Brian, I appreciate you sharing that.
Plus, it might have been too strong, but
We'll need to talk about your new assignment tomorrow.
Another example is if the meter's not transmitting data, that'll be something we're going to see, so we can target our maintenance crews to go out and address that. So those are some examples of that proactive capability. Other benefits: billing performance, eliminating the human error. We talked about reducing man hours required to look at them, take those readings. We'll have that analytical data. We'll have that enhanced customer service. We'll have data-driven maintenance. We'll have better water efficiency. Something cool is for like me and Kimberly and folks is we've got our water model, which is it's like a computer-based water model of our distribution system, so it can kind of show the performance of our water system, flows, pressures, and things like that. And this data gets pumped into that, and so we have a really accurate picture of how our system's performing with these variations of demand seasonally, monthly, that kind of thing. So that model is a tool for, like, if we're growing, we can run scenarios where the growth's coming and see how that impacts our system. That's a kind of a cool note there. And then another benefit is the low. This approach provides the cheapest life cycle costs as opposed to the manual reading, the staffing and the hours you put into that. The front end cost is the infrastructure and the meter conversions. But we did the analysis on that, and or we paid somebody to do it, and the determination was that the AMI is the more cost-effective approach. So history, 2018, we did what's called a critical analysis of our meter reading system. Basically, this is prompted by the increased issues with delivering timely and accurate meter reads in the context of our rapidly growing city. So the recommendation for AMI conversion came out of that. In 2018, we did an RFP to procure an AMI implementer for that phase 1. That was USS. They were contracted for phase 1 in fall of 2019 through a professional services agreement. That's that 5,600 I mentioned in the opening remarks. After that phase, we did an implementation plan with Jacobs to understand, okay, we've got 50,000 meters left to roll out. What's the best approach to rolling those out? And the results of that study were basically you know, we need to attack this, from a volume perspective. We need to, I should mention, the approach we're taking is to hit the small meters first, 1 inches and smaller meters. You know, those meters are typically closer together, smaller lots, whereas the large meters are spread out through the city. But if we approach it in this, you know, attacking those small meters first, we're getting the most volume to saturate that AMI in our system quicker, so we're getting those benefits quicker. So contract specifics. So today we got the contract with USS and we got the contract with Jacobs, right? USS is our implementer. We use them for phase 1. So we're installing an AMI system that requires specialized expertise, right? They're a professional service provider, and we need them to retrofit our existing conventional meters. You know, I want to explain that, you know, you don't bid professional services, right? It reduces the quality of what you're getting.
You do bid it, right?
Not
Just don't bid
professional
it on
services. It's like
price.
when we get an engineer, we don't bid those services. We procure them, we decide who's the most qualified, and then at that point, we negotiate scope and fee. So when you need a
Oh, I
specialized,
thought we still bid them, we just did not bid them on a price basis. We don't
Okay.
solicit a request for,
pricing,
RFQ,
yeah, we request
request for
qualifications,
qualifications.
which lacks the pricing,
Right.
and then we make a decision on that. So this is the same kind of context here. So we're getting that expertise to the, you know, this is a complex system. It has a lot of IT and network components, so we need them as an implementer to lead this implementation. We selected USS in the first go round. USS is the sole provider of the Itron endpoint system. When I say endpoint system, what I'm talking about is that communication component that attaches to the meter that sends out information to the radio towers. So Itron is what we use phase 1. We need to stick with that. We don't want different components in our system, right? And USS again is the sole provider of that endpoint. For the installation component, I want to mention that USS did, you know, go to more than one provider for the installation component to kind of get that pricing competitive. So that's embedded in this contract. So USS contract has 2 components. It has the implementation, the software, the interfacing, and then it's got the installation. And that contract is $2,188,668.69 for the 19,000 meters. The Jacobs contract is for project management services. Jacobs has a smart meter division. So they've got a whole division dedicated to rolling out these systems throughout the world, really. So, you know, this in all told is a large effort. This effort is $4 million with the equipment that we're also purchasing outside
This effort being the
the
19,000.
phase 2, yes, sir. And then we'll have a follow-up effort. The phase 3 will be somewhere in the order of magnitude of 10 million. So this is a $15 million effort. So anytime we've got a $15 million effort, we need consultant oversight to be immersed in this project, make sure things are going smooth. So that's what this is. If you take that $15 million and you take I should mention that this $416,600 for Jacobs is for phase 2 and phase 3. So timelines, phase 2, 12 months, phase 3, 18 months. So this is $416,000 for the next 2.5 years. That's 3% as insurance on a smooth project. So that's kind of my commentary on those contracts.
Right. I've got several questions. I'm sure committee members will too. going back to phase one, when we did the 5,600 meters, or the 5 to 6, that started, how much money did we spend, and then how long did it take? When did we finish installing those 5,600 meters?
I can give you ballpark and I'll ask for help. I think it was,
I mean, roughly.
yeah, 1.9 million on the cost, and we finished in 2019. Is that right?
But
So-
that was all the infrastructure, it wasn't
In-
all dedicated to meters, that was all the.
Meters and the infrastructure for the whole
Yes.
project
Right,
that is
for-
coming.
Infrastructure for the whole city for AMI.
Okay, so,
That's those towers we talked about.
yeah, all the infrastructure and the meters were put in, right?
Yeah.
Because, but that was the infrastructure to do the whole 50-some thousand meters. Okay. So, we talked one time, so that's the first phase. Now, the second phase is the meter conversion is almost $2.2 million, right? Which for 19,000, or whatever, whatever the number was, it 16,000? What'd you tell me?
It's 19,000.
19,000. That seems a little bit high. So so talk to me a little bit about what USS is doing for us in this. And then the other thing we talked about, I know back in old meetings, was when one of these meters is installed, they do have a useful life of 10 years, or that seems to be the number I remember.
Yeah.
20 years, okay.
It's 20 years.
10
yeah.
to 12, so 20
The batteries
years.
on these things will last 20 years,
So
which is the failure
the-
mechanism.
once these meters are installed, they're going to last up to 20 years
Right.
The 20 years is the warranty on them.
with a 20-year warranty. So if my meter goes out at my house at 12 years or 8 years, that it's replaced. They'll replace that, right? Do we pay, is it total warranty or just pay labor?
We would pay labor on.
We pay the labor, but they supply it.
The equipment cost on most meters, it's a 15-year full replacement, and then the last 5 years, it's prorated.
Prorated like a battery, right, like a car battery,
Yes, sir.
right? Okay, if it was 17 years, right, or whatever. Okay, that's a very good point. Thank you, Ron. All right, so just spend a little bit of time. What exactly are they doing for us for that $2.2 million?
So they're getting these meters networked into this AMI system, this network, and so they're running the right, testing and things to make sure that's seamless. And then they're installing their subcontractor is installing the endpoints. So it's that IT network component where they're making sure, hey, we installed, this neighborhood with AMI endpoints. Are we seeing it on our interface? Is it, are we accurate here? Do we have the right communication engineering to get this to the radio tower and to get it to the software? And then they're also managing their installer subcontractor, who will actually go out and do the
Physically
labor.
replace the
Yeah,
meter.
and they're managing that process too and planning it.
Common sense, which I guess sometimes I'm good at that, sometimes I'm not, but one thing I thought about right now is the larger volume users in the city. Have we already tackled some of those first to test problems, or where does all that fall into all of this? Because to me, if you have unaccounted for in your water system, which we have some, right, that you might want to start with a bigger one instead of a smaller one.
Well,
Right? Or what's the logic behind that of going the other way?
I'll go ahead.
The
Ron.
larger meters, we're converting in-house.
Okay.
We have converted meters in-house for our larger users. It's hard to bid a large meter, 4-inch meter, because there's so many different aspects of replacing a meter pit bypass, that type of stuff. So one 4-inch meter is not another 4-inch meter. But one 1-inch meter, one 3/4 inch meter is the same.
Sure.
So by targeting the small meters with contractor staff, that frees up man hours for our specialized staff to be able to work work on these large meters, convert them in-house.
And how many of those have been converted, Ron, at this point, y'all?
I hate to put a number on it, but I'd say 100 to 200.
And how many do we have roughly? To be converted?
I don't know the answer to that. I can get back to you.
That's
Yeah,
what I was
that'd be
wondering.
fine, just curious. I mean, it's something we're working on, though. That's the point. I mean, it's a comprehensive type plan. That's all I want to make a point on, but I'm sorry, did I interrupt you with your answer?
Well, I
USS
was
or
gonna
anything
reference
else?
the implementation plan that we did.
Yeah, so I want to point out one thing on that, is that if you recall, when we first put water and sewer back together, we were struggling to get meters read on time and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So for us, what we targeted was the most amount of AMI saturation that we could get the quickest, that way we could gain the most mass back in the field, so that our everyday residential customers could get their bills on time, accurate readings, and so that was the goal when we started doing this with the smaller amount of money that we had, is so that we could get the saturation, the accuracy back, and it'd be so much more customer friendly for the citizens, for the everyday citizens.
Okay, that's fair. Questions, committee members or
Yes, I have a
council,
question.
Councilwoman Howard?
Yeah, I was just talking to a customer this morning, so give me a second. And their concern is, so they said that they've had their old meter since 1976. And so when the meters are converted over, should customers see some type of increase in their water bill?
No,
Do you think they should?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
no, I don't believe we'll have a more accurate reading.
Yeah, I mean, if the meter isn't reading accurately, we replace the meter, possibly, but not because AMI is in place. That would be because we're replacing the meters.
Okay, well, I have someone going out to check his water meter and all of that, but they just have had some consistent concerns. And I think they have a new water meter. Yeah. That was my question.
Thank you. Questions, committee members?
Brian, first phase is 5,600, second phase 19,000, third phase 30,500. Roughly comes to a total of 61,000 meters.
Should be
Is it
like
more?
55,
Okay.
I think.
So are these inclusive of all of the meters that we will need to be changed, or
Yes,
what will we go?
that's the whole
Really?
system.
Wow.
I mean, it fluctuates numbers wise, because it's always growing. Meters are getting taken in and out of service.
We get a new
We
subdivision
operate,
and all that.
right, we operate roughly in that range.
So the 10 million in the proposed capital budgets or projects budget, that is the final 30,000 meters.
That's right.
And the money for Jacobs includes servicing that 10 million.
That money is today on the agenda.
Yeah, I know that we're gonna approve, but it's for that plus the future. I mean, it's for next two
Yes,
stages
sir.
is Jacobs.
Yeah, I
I mean,
misunderstood.
so we shouldn't see another bill for anything to Jacobs,
Correct,
right?
for this project.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Fair enough.
Okay. Any other questions from committee members or council? And when-
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 3 is approved. Item number 4 is approval of professional services agreement with Jacob Engineering for Phase 2 and 3 of the AMI water meter conversion. Totals $416,600.
I think
Any
we pretty well
questions?
covered that
Yeah,
as
we've
part of
gone
number
over
3.
that. We're good?
Mr. Wilson, you good with it?
I'm
You got a
good.
question? Motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item number
Aye.
4 is approved. Item number 5 is approval, professional services agreement with Cassidy Company for engineering services related to lift station number 42. The study total is $74,720. Brian?
Yes, sir. So lift station 42, we've had a history of odor issues there. We have done stuff to address that, dosing chemicals upstream. I think it's helped some. I think we're still getting complaints. What we're doing here is we want to study the characteristics of the wastewater coming into the lift station all the way to the eastern extent of the system. This is pretty much a force main corridor all the way out to lift station 39. So we'll study those characteristics to make sure our approach to odor control is optimized. And this also will address look to study the corrosion impacts that wastewater has on this line. As well as we're gonna do an assessment on lift station 42 to understand the conditions and the capacity of that station, to know where we're positioned, in terms of, how that lift station operates today, and then what's it look like for future growth in that area, and what kind of capacity upgrades are needed.
Questions?
Just that I'm excited for us to do this. And I don't smell it. I know
Yeah,
I've asked people to call 311 if they do, and I'm sure we've gotten a few, but I go over there specifically, and I don't smell it.
yeah. I know we've gotten some complaints still, and I know,
If I worked there at the Dollar General, I'd smell it. They said when it's warm in the afternoons,
sure,
they might smell it.
yes, sir.
Any other questions?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 6 is approval of professional services contract with CCR Architecture and Interiors for construction and design services at the Linton Barber Shop, Tuscaloosa Civil Rights Trail. The total is $142,487. Eric?
Thank you, Councilor.
Welcome.
So this is a contract for professional services with CCR. This is building on the mayor's presentation last week with the capital projects. This is to design and then help with construction services throughout the next phase of the Lynn's Barbershop.
Questions?
I do, and Eric, we were able to get into some of these just before the meeting, but walk me back through it, please. How does this integrate with the $1 million recommendation on the capital projects budget for the Linton Barbershop Park?
So what you've seen so far is a conceptual design by CCR. Mr. Roman Gary is here to represent the firm. What you've seen so far is conceptual. The next
Conception of the park or the park?
Correct.
Okay.
And so this is to finish design and then help with construction services through construction. So
For
they
the
would build
park.
correct. They're going to be building on what you've seen so far in the presentation.
Okay, so is that not part of the $1 million in the capital projects budget?
So we already had $750,000 in the
Okay.
budget, and that's what that's gone to. And that budget is where this money is coming from.
Okay,
This money's coming out of 750
Correct.
okay.
that we're talking about tonight.
Correct.
Was that the last renderings we were
Yes, sir.
sent?
The park that the mayor presented, that is what we're
that's
working
what-
towards.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
And Eric, just to be clear, the civil rights committees are fine with this happening this way, correct?
We've got Mr. Tim Lewis from the foundation here.
And thank you for being here, Mr. Lewis. And I spoke with someone from the Civil Rights Trail this morning. So Mr. Busby is saying this is for the park. So is any of this for the actual building, or like I see it says interior?
So the interior is for actually the design of the park. Everything in this is going towards the
Just
design
the
of the
park.
park.
The interior of the park.
The interior
Correct.
of the park, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Then the next item, that's the removal of the asbestos, right?
from the actual building.
Well, it's more than just asbestos, but yeah, we can. I mean, if you want to, we can talk about it now, or we can wait till the next
Yeah.
item.
Doesn't matter, whichever one.
So I guess
Let's
my
talk
next
about it
question-
now. We got
Talk
it
about it
flowing.
now.
We'll vote on it.
Well, yeah, my next question is that like, like Councilor Wilson was saying, is the foundation good with the conceptual drawings, or like, are there any concerns or anything about it?
We appreciate what's happened so far and see it as a first step. Ultimately, we'd love to see a museum or some physical building. We think this is a good first step.
Just a little history. The city purchased the Lynn Barber Shop about 4 or 5 years ago after the passing of Pastor Lynn.
And that was 100 and a quarter, something
Yeah.
like that?
And because of that, we were able to salvage the artifacts out of the building itself. The initial goal was to try to save the building along with the Maggie's Diner and that whole section because of its prominence in the African American business community, especially during the times of civil rights here in Tuscaloosa. And in many ways, it was the epicenter of much of the civil rights movement here in Tuscaloosa. Unfortunately, the building itself is, you literally have to put in a hazmat suit to go into it. Our insurance carrier does not want anybody to walk in from the city into that building. It needs to be demolished. It's just not salvageable. So the first step for us was then, knowing that we can't preserve the buildings, then let's move forward with the demolition, and then from that construct the park concept that we shared with you last week, that honors the civil rights movement and becomes part of Tuscaloosa's Civil Rights Trail. So we had $750,000 budgeted from last year. The 142 comes out of that amount. $1 million is being recommended to be added to it, so that we can move forward with the park itself. If you don't approve this, then we would not be able to construct the park. So we wouldn't, in many ways, you would be affirming what's been recommended last week. I will say the demolition of the building is an absolute priority. Certainly, we want you to approve both. We think both are very, as Mr. Lewis said, a very positive and significant first step.
Well, I'm just trying, we're pushing $2 million?
Yes.
And so we have had a structural engineer assess the building. The architecture firm has reviewed those findings, which is the reason for the next item on the agenda.
And let me say, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Busby, I initially was on the fence concerning this building, and looking at the pictures and looking at what the building has meant to so many, and what I guess improvements could or could not be made. I wanted to make sure that this would be the best option for community. And I was on the fence initially. I will say I was on the fence. And then in talking to several other people, and I'm seeing now that several other people may have reached out to Councilwoman Howard, but those persons that I've spoken to were, after looking at the assessments of the city and talking with Dakota, that they were fine with this structure.
And I'm pleased with the upgrades and what it would do to that entire area. That really is an improvement in the quality of life, so I'm with it.
Questions? Any other questions? Other council people have questions? Not entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 7, I think we talked about it also. Any other discussion about it? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Oh, you were gonna, I'm sorry, I'm not, you said it's more than just asbestos removal, because that has to be done before the building.
There's asbestos, there's mold, there's lead
Yeah,
paint that needs
before
to be
you-
admitted to asbestos.
Before you gotta do that.
Who's gonna do it?
So the contract is with K&A Builders. They have several subcontractors that'll be working with them on this project.
Y'all won't be doing it. Fail. Okay,
Well,
that's what I was just wondering, because you got, all that's just going for the removal before you can.
Before you can do the other.
Motion.
Second.
Moving second, and all in favor say
Aye.
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 Item number 7 is approved. Item number 8 is approval of change order number 1 with Harrison Construction for construction of Fire Station 11. The total is $100,000 there.
All right, so this is within the scope of work, or within the grant that we received from the state for Fire Station 11. We're going through, looking at some upgrades to the design of Fire Station 11. This is the one over by Mercedes. We would like to go ahead and add $100,000 into the contract with Harrison Construction so they can do things like data jacks and cabling upgrades, upgrades to the antenna out there, the PA system, and as well as some other things.
The
And
key
so
is
this,
the money is still in the state grant we've received.
we have roughly 1.7 million left in that.
Love to hear that.
We're, and it's, we get to we can maximize the grant, but we do not get any leftover funding. So we want to maximize every bit of the 1.7 we have remaining. In most cases, we would certainly not, but we were awarded the grant and we want to take full advantage.
We also have a very hard deadline of January 5th, 2025, which Mr. Holmes will remind me of daily. And so instead of bringing back every smaller change order, we'd like to do one and bring it to you just to help expedite.
Any other questions? I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moving and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 8 is approved. Item number 9 is approval of minor public works contract with Scales Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning for gas line addition. Also, well, no, that's at Fire Station 10.
Correct. And so I
Yes, sir.
told Tim I would just take care of this one for him.
Yeah,
This is
3200.
to add a gas line at Fire Station 10. Pretty straightforward. It's on the outside of the building.
Questions? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item number 9 is approved. Everybody catch their breath here. Before we adjourn, I would like to call on Miss Lisa Keys, who is the Executive Director of Tuscaloosa Sister Cities. We have some very special guests in our city today from Ghana. Lisa, would you like to come up front, or just,
Sure, thank
if you
you.
would, and introduce our guests? We're so honored to have them here today.
You're shy, Lisa.
Yeah. Everyone, it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for taking the time to welcome our very special guest from our Ghana West Africa sister cities, Sunyani and Techiman. Our sister city partnership with Sunyani and Techiman was established in 2011, and since that time, we've had several delegations from Sunyani and Techiman come here. We have had many more go to Ghana, students and community delegates. We were there last year. Councilor Wilson was there. Raven Howard was also there 2 visits ago. It has been an amazing partnership, full of culture, history, education, public works. There's so much that we still have yet to do, and so we're super excited to welcome this group here today. I will, Ray, wave your hand. I'll do this alphabetically so that you're alphabet. Ms. John.
Can they come around to you?
Yeah, come on. Yeah, sure. Come on up. Seth, you can come up too if you want. He's Ghanaian, but he lives in Tuscaloosa. So both cities claim him. I'll start with Mr. Amasa, John Codwell Amasa. He's the Technical Education Director of Techiman. Good to see you. This morning we were at Central High School and then the TCTA vocational classrooms to see what the students here are doing with vocational training, so that they can take some of these nuggets back home to them in Sunyani and Techiman. Yesterday we did the highlights of Tuscaloosa. We visited the Curry Environmental Services Building, so they were rich experiences there, and then also Moundville, of course, our history. Next is Mr. Philip Decora Bazing, who is the Coordinating Director of Sunyani. They're all very interested in learning all about what we do here in Tuscaloosa, so thank you again for engaging and sharing your information with them. Next is Mr. Nathaniel Incum Bartholomew, who is the NADMO Director. That is their Emergency Services Department in Sunyani. He's with the Sunyani Municipal Assembly, which is like our council. And tomorrow we're going to, Thursday, we're going to visit the Emergency Management County, Tuscaloosa City Emergency Management Program, so that they can get a firsthand look at what the state-of-the-art facility is there. And then last but not least, and he's really kind of the liaison for sister cities in the city of Sunyani, Daniel Owusu McDaniels. He's well known here in Tuscaloosa. He does an amazing job welcoming our delegations when we go there. the experiences that we have for both the students and city representatives, community delegates, are second to none. We come away with a deep feeling in our hearts and gratefulness always. And then I wanted to introduce Seth Apia Opoku. He is a professor of geography at the University of Alabama. Kip knows him, spoke to his class recently. He's actually from Sunyani, and we were talking about adding a sister city in West Africa all those years ago, 2011. Seth had come to Sister Cities and spoken to our group about the city of Sunyani and nearby Techiman that is sort of unique, a lot of similarities. There's a university in Sunyani. Architecture is, agriculture is big in Sunyani, timber, all of the things. Education is very, very, very strong in the Sunyani Techiman area. So he was really instrumental in forging the relationship that we now have. So I want to thank you all again. Thank you to the City Council, Mayor Maddox, for supporting our program all these years, almost 40 years now. So thank you, and we appreciate your willingness to help and support. And, who did I forget? Oh, also, yes, the mascot, of course, for the University of Alabama is the elephant. Well, Sunyani is represented by the elephant, so that was like a coincidence that we knew that we were making a really good decision. We formed it. So what we're trying to do, we've been talking about having carved elephants made by the artisans in West Africa that we can get here in Tuscaloosa, that we can sell them, we buy them, we sell them here, and then the money will go back into the Sister Cities programs, educational programs and art programs back in Sunyani and Techiman. So there are really good similarities, and the friendship is strong. So thank you.
Lisa?
I want to ask the gentleman, the tech director, what do you see as comparisons from going to our tech school with the tech school that you're within Sunyani?
For me in the education sector,
yes,
we recently changed our curriculum, educational curriculum. We used to have what we call the objective-based curriculum, which plays emphasis on just reading, writing to pass or exams. We realized it didn't really help our students to be critical and creative, and so we changed it to what we call standard-based curriculum. But I see that there's the new curriculum describes a lot of what you are practicing here, but we are just facing a lot of infrastructure challenges.
Mm-hmm.
We have issues with giving our teachers refresher courses, issues with lack of textbooks, and even the teachers themselves don't seem to have grasp of the new concept.
Oh, wow.
And so coming here, I myself, even as a director, really didn't have the holistic view. But coming here has exposed me really to the real standard-based curriculum. I see it's more based on practice than even theory. We do more theory than practice, and so it becomes more abstract for our students to understand.
Practice and theory. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Welcome to Tuscaloosa. Thank you, Lisa, for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Our next Public Projects Committee meeting will be next Tuesday, May the 14th. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.